Hey, well, we're doing interviews, man. So many. It's going good. But anyway, I'm JWMaher, and that's Will Cohen. Before we get started today, I always got to ask Will, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Maybe I'm tooting my own horn, but I think we're kind of killing it at this interview thing.
We're pretty good.
We are pretty good, and honestly, it's not just the fact that we are, as interviewers are pretty good at our job, but I think the people that we're interviewing are just so goddamn interesting too. And honestly, it's kind of refreshing to kind of get like an up and comer here on the channel.
Yeah.
The person that we're interviewing here doesn't have like the widest of filmographies, but like when delving into this guy's backstory a little bit, like looking at the stuff that he has done, he has some interesting stuff under his belt, and I'm very interested in talking to him.
And, both of our two interviews that we've done, we've interviewed Julia Coyle, we interviewed Marcus Massey. He's worked with both of them. So it's cool that we could just move right along to director Greg Randolph Jr. Greg, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's noticing that he does not speak with a British accent. So, no. Greg, you are an East Coast boy like myself. So
yes, sir. You know it. I hail from Boston, Massachusetts.
I was gonna say, like, born in New York City, moved up to New England. So when did you finally get the bug to like go into filmmaking? Was it like were you in like a high school club and then it grew from there? So tell us about that.
Absolutely. I just wanted to say, just again, thank you so much for having me. I flipped my computer around just because I do have some Champ Dog related paraphernalia. It's a bit messy, but yeah, I've got my Rhode Island International Film Festival poster, which my grad film was at. I've got a Celtics poster, of course, as a longtime Celtics fan. I've got a glove from I Know What You Did Last Christmas, which everybody signed.
That's cool.
And I've got a couple of clapperboards, one from Dino Hunt and one from Dracula in Space. Somehow I happened upon those. So I keep them right where I work, just because of how much, making these films means to me. And but let me, I just wanted to intro with that a little bit. But yeah, no, I mean, in talking about where I got the bug, it was very early on for me. I think like all of us film lovers, cinephiles, whatever you want to call us, watching movies with my dad, like as a kid, like watching Alien, watching RoboCop, watching what was another big one? I mean, there were so many. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was always the big one for like, Greg, you ready for this? Because I think he had watched it growing up, and it's like, okay, this is kind of like a rite of passage. I feel like when you're like a young boy growing up, there's rite of passages, right? Like, right. I'm going to sound like such an American right now, but eating your first Big Mac or like again, like watching like a scary movie like Texas Chainsaw or something like that. I don't know. That's just like part of my childhood. So I think it was always cool, right? Because you go to Blockbuster, you get the popcorn, the microwave popcorn, maybe you'd get some ice cream, something like that, and you'd turn the lights off and you'd watch something really cool, and that was it for me. I think in high school, I was a bit all over the place, but it was really in college. I went to Providence College in Rhode Island, and I saw the editing suite there, and everyone was being taught on Final Cut 7, and Final Cut 7 was where I cut my teeth. Made a couple of short films with buddies around. It was a film minor at the program, so really nothing major. But I thought I was an English major, and I thought, well, I love writing. It's it's a take home test for me. I can think about it. I can mull it over and bring back like a solid thought. And then the film was like, oh man. And I think from there it just grew.
I believe if I'm looking at your resume correctly, it looks like you worked in some kind of like commercial videos, and then you went to London after that. Okay,
I did, yeah. So I started as a broadcast television video editor. I worked in New York for many years for a show called Open House, like a real estate kind of show. It was like Sunday mornings. Sarah Gore's the host of it. Like interior, like you know, a nice penthouse in Midtown and $1 million place in Connecticut. And I would get the footage from the shooters and edit. And I would edit. I edited every day for about 4 years. And really just, yeah, again, like was learning the craft of editing. I always wanted to be more on set and behind the camera, but I think I wanted to have some type of skill and be a bit more analytical in my approach. So it took a while for me to, I mean, and we'll get to it, me coming to London and making films with Champ Dog, but all that while very much, yeah, wanting to just learn the craft and you know, hear from the shooters, hear what they have to say, and it all kind of slowly happened, you know.
So I have a quick question, because honestly, when I was looking at your filmography, there was something that kind of fascinated me quite a bit with yours, because I saw, like, you know, naturally, you know, with working with Champ Dog and, you know, the other ITN stuff. You know, they tend to skew horror, obviously, but then I noticed Taylor Made Christmas on there, which I saw a little bit of earlier today. I have to ask, how did you decide to go from a rom-com to horror? Because that seems like a little bit of a leap.
I think for me it's probably a little bit of I have a bit of an open mind for this type of stuff. I wanna get better at the craft, right? And I've watched, I guess I'm not a rom-com connoisseur per se, but I've watched enough to like get what they're going for, you know what I mean? And so it was really it's a tailor-made romance, and really it was Louisa. You know, it was 100% Louisa that has made all of these things happen. So I'm so grateful for her, you know, guidance at Champ Dog and the things that she's been able to do. She's such an accomplished producer and filmmaker, director. I mean, the list goes on. I met her on a vertical drama. So I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with vertical dramas, but essentially they're kind of like telenovelas for your phone. They're episodic. You pay for them by episode. Very popular amongst a lot of London Film School graduates recently. Lots of people. They're actually, if you wouldn't think, decently well paid. They provide kind of like a nice kind of solid backbone for any filmmaker coming out of school. They run their sets fairly well. So I met her. She was a day player. She played a lawyer, breaking up two of the couple, and she killed it. I think if I replay it in my mind, this was about 2 years ago, two summers ago. I think with, as we go into Jagged Edge, we'll talk a little bit more about Jagged Edge and Champ Dog, but I imagine that when you're a producer, someone that has a production company, you want to get back onto set for something maybe you're not totally sure what you're getting into. And I think that's exactly what happened with this. I was really, really invested in directing this vertical drama. I think there was some ridiculous plot where a drink was getting spiked, and then there was like cops coming, and someone gets hit in the head with a bottle, and she was all essentially like a part of the scene. And so I think she saw me going about, because these are very tight turnarounds, and you're really pressed to get a lot of content done quickly. So I think she saw a little bit of me doing that. I said, "Hello, Louisa, how you doing? Sit in this chair. Okay, cool. Let's talk over the lines really quickly." Boom, she knocked out the scene. I think it was like one take, and she was done. And the sound guy, Solomon, he goes, "Greg, you should talk to Louisa. She's a really, really talented filmmaker, and she does a lot of films quickly. And so if you're looking to do more of this type of stuff," and I said, "Okay, cool. I'll go say hello. And you know, maybe I could be a PA for a day or something like that, or, you know, just to kind of get my feet wet." And he goes, No, you could direct them for sure. Like you'd be a shoe in." And I was like, "All right, well." And so, yeah, that started our conversation and a bit of the relationship. So to answer your question, I'm sorry, that's a bit of a long-winded response, but
cook, my friend.
Cool. But basically, Louisa we had been chatting. I had recommended her a couple of crew for various projects, but I was really forthright with her at one point where I said, listen, I really want to direct. Here's my grad film. Here's swimming. Here's a couple of short films I've made. I know I can do this stuff. You've seen me do the vertical dramas. She said, listen, I've got a rom-com for you. And I said, well, I can do that. I mean, what's too bad, you know? And she sent me the script, and just really got to it. I mean, these are quick turnarounds, but I think I'm sorry, how's my girlfriend is just, but basically it was, I think I could see it in the reflection. But basically it was, sorry, I'll reset real quick. Basically she sent me the script for Tailor Made Romance, and it was off to the races. We had and I can describe like a little bit of the preparation for these, where it's, you hop on a couple Zoom calls with the actors, you kind of look at some problem areas in the script. I think for me as a director, I read the script, of course, maybe once, maybe twice. I think about what is the main drive of the story, what does each character want. I think I'm good at getting in my mind's eye quickly what the film is about. I think when I read, I can't help, but it takes me a while to read because I'm simultaneously trying to understand the script and visualize it. That happens very simultaneously. So once I have that down, I really like to get into the cast group, get into the crew group, and get this thing going. So it's really fun. I love it. It's without going into it too much, it is tight turnarounds, but I get a sense of like there's a challenge in it, and I love that challenge, because I feel like at the end of the day, the director is the person that is going to be on the line for the storytelling of it. And if you can get cast excited about their role and excited about the story, I notice that the crew very much responds to that. And then you've got a very palpable and a lot of potential. That's I think that answers the question of, it was unexpected. I'll be honest with you, but I ended up meeting Shaylee Reagan and Connor, and they're such fantastic actors. They were so pleasant to work with, and I think everyone really at the end of that shoot really thought, oh, this is great. These can sometimes go wrong. And this really worked out really well. And that was the start of a lot of feature films over the course of a year.
Absolutely. And we're jumping around a bit, but I did want to get the story of like how you get from like the metropolitan area to like going to grad school for film in London. How does that happen?
Absolutely. So I went to undergrad at Providence College. My mom and dad are originally from New York, so that hence the being born in New York. But I moved very quickly, about a month after I was born, to Boston, and grew up in Boston. But I always had the feeling of wanting to go back to New York for some time and just experience the city. And so, I left college. I was back home for probably about a year, and then moved to New York. I stayed on my aunt's on the Upper East Side for quite a while. Sent out the resumes, was knocking on doors, everything like that. Ended up getting a freelance job at ABC News for like 30 hours a week, something like that. And slowly kind of made my way, started making connections, shaking people's hands and things like that. And and fell into this job at NBC, which was really lucky, I guess. But I really thought editing would be the way for me to get into directing at some point. But I wanted to, again, like learn a craft that then I could jump off of, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
And then I'm sorry, I still have the London aspect of things didn't happen until much later. I left New York in 2018. I was back home in Boston for COVID, and I thought, well, I really feel like I've been able to make some things, and I've been able to edit, and I could go back and get a good editing job, but I really want to make films, and I think maybe let me try film school. And so that started the film school search. I looked at a lot in the States. I thought maybe NYU, but it's a 3-year program, and then maybe go to LA. But then London started to intrigue me. I thought, well, I can speak the language. Let me look at some of the schools. I traveled over, and I went to LFS for a tour, and I thought this is perfect. This is a bit of a multidisciplinary program. I really don't know that much about being on set. I know about editing. So it really was great. I could learn sound. I could learn production design. I could learn all different facets of filmmaking. So it worked out really well. I'm very glad I was able to go.
And we'll take a minute to just talk about like your student film, which I watched. You sent us the link to it. And
Thank you.
Writing the script yourself, what was your like your story about writing that? Like, how do you like writing? What's your process in writing? Because you wrote and directed that movie.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, I think anyone, when you start to look at some of your favorite directors, I don't know, for me, I notice a lot of writing and directing. So I want to challenge myself to do it, because I feel like there's something really, you can get deep down into something if you're going through the writing phase and then thinking about the directing of it. So, I mean, I look at like Paul Thomas Anderson, Cohen brothers. I mean, the list goes on of great writer directors. So I think for me, it was really like, I got to be open in my mind to like where things come from. So I would say like Swimming, for example, which is a film about a girl who wants to be a fish, which was something I made before my grad film, just because I wanted something to kind of jump off of before getting right into like a bigger film that where I'm like really responsible for making it happen. It was just something that came to me as I was walking down the street. I think I had just come from another shoot over the course of say 4 or 5 days, and we were having a coffee. And the story is, I think it was the spark, one of the sparks. She came out of the bookstore with a book about fish, like maybe like it was like different types of fish or some type of like biograph. I'm not totally sure, but I thought, did you steal that book? And because I didn't see any receipt or bag. She's like, no, I just bought it. And then I thought that would be kind of funny. Like, what if someone was stealing specific types of books because they were afraid of what like the cashier might think or something like that. Like they didn't want the cashier to know, like kind of like your mom or dad or something like that. You don't want them to know something. And that whole idea came out of that, is essentially that she's a bit selfish or not selfish, but shy of this feeling. And then the story kind of takes off from there. So that's Swimming at the very least.
I would say like Different Faces, though. It feels like, I don't know if it's necessarily your personal story, but it's definitely a relatable story about like two people who like, they make a decision just to like be together and they uproot themselves and go somewhere else. It's a very like common theme. So was that something that happened to you or happened to a friend of yours and you wrote about it?
Oh no, it's super autobiographical for sure. It's me thinking about my life, like in every way, thinking about moving, because I see myself as a bit of a city guy. Of between Boston, New York, Providence, and London. It's like I've spent most of my time in the city. I mean, doing the 2 films we did in February, Sinkhole and Zoo Escape, was probably the longest I had been in like a rural area in like my entire life. That was like 15 days or something like that, So it's really like it's absolutely that. It's I wouldn't say that it happened to me, but it's me thinking about that happening and making a film about it. Just really getting 2 characters. I mean, I like that. Like, I like real life things. I'm a big Jim Jarmusch and like Kelly Reichardt fan. I love like American independent cinema. That kind of, I don't know if you call it slow cinema or something like that, but just something that I remember I watched Ghost Dog in like New Hampshire when I was like 12. I was in a hotel and it was late at night, and I was like, this movie is different. This is different. Like, this is kind of like a samurai movie, but it's in Brooklyn, and it's like, and I just was like, it just hit me very much. And years later, I look back and think about that. That's probably why I got where I was. Is just sometimes these movies come out of nowhere, right? Especially nowadays we have YouTube, and you hardly throw on the TV to throw on something just to see if something comes up. But at that time, it was very like, it just like hits you in the head, and for some reason I still remember it. So I guess, but yeah, that's the story of Different Faces, I guess.
Yeah. So you came out of school, then you get into the vertical dramas, you get your connections. Was the rom-com the first movie you did then?
That's correct. Yeah. Tailor-Made Romance was the first one. I feel like I got like a good boost off of that. Was just feeling like accomplished. I mean, there's some crazy stories like the DP kind of last minute came in. Nickel, who I love, Nickel Renard, came in pretty much last minute and crushed it. And I really remember it was like halfway through the first day, and he's like tired, he had been struggling to get up to Manchester where we shot the film. He's based in London, and he looks at me, he's like, "This is going great. Like, this is awesome, man. Like what like this could be such a like really, really scary, and like not like it could really end up going south." And we've worked together on 3 films since then. So yeah, I miss him. I haven't seen him in quite a while, just because you just get paired up and you end up working on something. But yeah. So that was the first one. Yeah.
And then you went direct. So how obviously. I know what you did last Christmas was it was the very next one, because like
yes,
if I'm looking at it, even like the release dates were like very, very close to each other.
That's correct.
So, as you said, you got to work with some of looks like you got to work with some of the same people from both films,
totally.
And so, what was it like, what was it like directing them in like such vastly different projects?
It's a really good question. I think it all goes back to, and even with different faces, like I think it's an editor's mindset a little bit of like, when I'm directing, I think I'm creating shots in such a way that they're simply edited. Like it's so funny. I just had one of the editors for Sinkhole, the editor for Sinkhole. Never met him in my life, right? This is one of those people you only meet online and you give notes to and you make a film with. And I invite him to my birthday party. And I'm like, "Oh, hey, man, what's going on?" And what he said, it was so easy to edit the film. I think he edited it over a weekend. And that makes me feel good as a director, because a feature film we're talking, because I think I'm coming at it from a really logical place with my cut points, giving space in when you need it. Really, I think a real crucial or like kind of important thing is like, if the editing is fun, that means I feel like there's something that has to do with like the directing just having gone well, I think, or something like that. I'm not saying that exactly succinctly, but essentially, like, an edit can be really a pain if there are some things that are missing. And when you have the right footage, it's really an awesome thing. So it sounds like that worked out well. I mean, at least with Cinco, but really with Christmas, it was again Louisa saying, "Greg, I've got a film for you. What do you think?" Connor was back. Shaylee was back, which was fantastic. They played huge roles in that as well. And it was just an opportunity. Like, again, it was one location and a crazy idea. And what I liked about it is that we weren't, although with a name sounds very much kind of like a ripoff, it was kind of a different story. I mean, obviously we're going for some type of click material, but I was able to just build world build. You're just able to build a world. They can't leave the place. There's a crazy Santa on the loose. It's kind of turns into like a whodunit-ish, something kind of like, I was like, I was raised on Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer and all these. And so like, that's what I wanted to do. It's like language. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to speak in the same kind of language, but like add like the new 2026 or Greg's own spin on, on that stuff. So I'll really say I welcomed it with open arms. Again, maybe having gone to film school, having edited so much, I'm just like, I just want to try genres out. You know what I mean? I want to mix things up a little bit. I'm open to different interpretations of things. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, you want the world to be your oyster in that regard. You don't really want to poo-poo too much material. I think that gives you a lot of opportunity to like be successful. Right. Like, So really it was that. I'll tell you that really what was fun about Christmas, because I was a little bit freaked out because I'd never done a horror before, so I was a little bit like, I was like, is this going to be a bummer? Killing people every day, like blood and guts. Like, is it going to be like a downer? And I remember Dan Robbins, like they all show up because it's kind of like, it's a bit of an ensemble cast a little bit, I would say. That's kind of part of what I was going for, is a little bit of this feeling of each character. You get a little slice of each character. And so at one point, I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to give too much away, but essentially Dan Robbins' character gets scared at one point by like a inflatable
penguin.
and he runs around the back. And I'll tell you, like when we finally started to design the way he dies, that was so fun. And when Paul Barker, the cinematographer, put the camera down, he has this very interesting contraption. It's like his own Frankenstein Steadicam. And when he set up that shot, it was like that. I was like, this is so cool. The way it's lit, the blood, the prosthetic, his acting, the Santa Claus Alfie acting in the Santa Claus suit. I was like, this is so cool, man. This is why I'm doing this, man. Like, and then we had Julia with the hot tub, and like that was also very fun for me. Was again without giving too much away, because I really want people to check out the film if they can. Is because we were talking about her character a little bit. We're talking about like this feeling of like a mouse. You're a little bit like a mouse, kind of going like one place to the other and all this stuff. And we do a little bit of like I don't even know if it's like a ping pong, where she kind of like, there's one scare and then there's another one and another one, and then she like kind of ends up. And that was just too fun, man. It's just too fun when you really get going with stuff like that, you know?
So my another question I have, because I've been a director and I've been a writer on
Cool.
some little things here and there.
Yeah.
As some on Christmas, where you had the script handed to you and you were directing, you obviously were directing the project. Did you work with the writer at all to make sure that you were on the same page vision wise, or did you have any feedback in terms of like what you wanted to add?
Really, really good question. So Chris Jolly, awesome dude. He does a little bit of work at Champ Dog as well, outside of just the writing, but and in all of the projects. I think I've worked with him on every single project in one way or another. But Chris was great because he's very easy to communicate with. So if I have any questions, I believe I have to double check that was it. I'm sorry. Let me just double check.
The writer of that, I believe it's listed as CM Wright is the writer.
Yes.
That.
Okay. So I'm sorry. That's his pseudonym.
Okay.
So I'll stick with Chris.
That's fine.
Okay.
Why don't we just call it Chris for now, because it's C. So Chris is great. I think for me, as I've done more of these films, I try and lay off the writer. The writer will deliver something, and I say, okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's make this work. Because it's just depending on the relationship and how Louisa hands things down. Sometimes it's, here's the script, have fun, and sometimes it's, oh yeah, Chris has worked on this. You guys can chat, whatever. So what I've become much more wanting to interpret, but I think at that point with Chris, we had a discussion and I tried to iron out some things. What was really fun about that is we had I think one rewrite of it before we got to set that Chris delivered. But what was really fun was working with Shaylee, Connor, Lolly, and Alfie on the big shouting scene at the end, where there's a bit of a reveal about what might have happened. It's kind of a very intense scene. That was stuff that they were working out with me pretty much, is like kind of, because we were all trying to figure out, the writing was also a little bit murky in regards to what exactly is going on. So I was kind of sitting there with the actors going like, how can we do this to try and just broil something up that feels like it's worthy of this moment, you know? So that's I love to do that. You know, I think that's also maybe part of the struggle of getting some writing that isn't yours and having to kind of figure out if it isn't super clear. But that's part of what's fun about these projects, you know, is trying to muddle through that, you know?
Awesome.
And I guess from there we go to a movie we were talking to Marcus about it earlier, Dracula in Space, which is like,
yeah.
I guess if you're a horror director, you kind of want at some point in your catalog to have directed a Dracula film. So like, I'll ask you the same question I asked Marcus. Like, who's your go-to Dracula performer? Like, what do you want to see? Who do you want them to emulate? Who's Dracula to you?
Oh my God, that's a good question. So you've talked with Marcus?
Yes.
Yeah, just earlier today, actually.
Oh, cool. Oh, he's such a good friend. You know, that's where we got talking is through Dracula in Space, and he has so much enthusiasm for everything. And man, was he stoked to play Dracula. And you know, he loves the Pooh series and his roles in that. He's great. He's great. We just contacted me the other day that we got to meet up. But I watched as many of the Dracula films as I possibly could. I went all the way back to the original silent film. I did listen to the audiobook for just to acquaint myself again with everything. I think with Dracula, I wanted what Dracula in space, right? That's really the thing. And then I was looking at Dracula 3000, which I think for me, I was looking for something that was I just wanted something fresh, like because Dracula, right? We've done it a million times, and that's great. Obviously, there's something in Dracula that's magnetic to us as humans and us as an audience. It's cinematic. The wanting of blood, the thirst, the kind of all of those things. And so for me, it was given our location, right? Because it's all like, okay, if we're gonna make a science fiction spaceship type of film with Dracula in it, like I was working with Lindy a lot on like what the coffin would look like and all these different things, and she came up with this really cool. It's hilarious. It's a car. It's a car top for a car. You put extra packages in and things, and I thought it looked so cool especially when they first happened upon it, and the lights are like Nico. I worked with Nico. The DOP was Nico Renat again, and the way they have it, where like Charlotte and Paul, the two actors, enter that little space, and the lights like slowly blinking on this like.
I had no idea that was the top of the car. It looks exactly like what you wanted to look like. I was like, that's an interesting coffin. Yeah, sure.
He found that like a couple days before the shoot, and I was like, this is so cool. So it's things like that. It's like and we were shooting in Leeds, like she sent it up there. We were at Airbnbs nearby, and it was just so funny. And she made all these really cool space age looking guns. We kind of went back and forth on the uniforms a little bit, like what they would look like. I thought the orange might be a bit much, but Louisa and actually Julia did some wardrobe for that film. I'm happy with how they ended up turning out. But yeah, I think with Marcus, it was really, we met up a couple times and just chatted. We chatted about, but I think Marcus really took the lead on that. Like he knew where he wanted to go. I offered some suggestions. And, you got to let him go with it. We got him in the costume. And I think also shout out to Maddie, the SFX person, because she made his face, I think, look so cool. And then with Nick Hill's lighting, the greens and the blues reflecting off of like what we had in regards to the set. I think it's part of what, for me, because these films are difficult to do, there's just the turnarounds and things like that. To get into Romford Horror Film Festival was such a dream, to see it on a big screen, all that hard work. It takes time to get it, and then to invite Felipe back, who played Soul, and all these people, and to have their friends and family come as well. It's just such a pleasure. You know what I mean? Like to feel like I think it's like with these types of films, I want them to hold water. Or if you or the opposite, if you think of them as boats that you want to float and be able to go somewhere. So yeah, I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For me, one of the things I really liked about Dracula in Space is that unlike something like I Know You Did Last Christmas, you had like the VR shots where some of them were not in the single location, so like for instance, like at the end you see the two characters in that like big open field, and that felt very, very intimate. It just kind of makes me wonder if you were thinking of like, if you like ever like have a thought of like branching out again, genre wise, because that it definitely felt like such like a different type of film. I kind of wonder if you wanted to like branch out again into like other genres.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think really, if you look at Different Faces in Swimming, I want to branch off of that. I'm working on I've got a couple features in development. I've got a short film that I brought through a lab that I'm just looking for some financing for, but I'm working on a period piece about a refugee who comes to a Puritan village in England, And so that's a period. I've never done like a proper period piece before. So that's total challenge. We're doing a presentation at, believe it or not, the Croatian embassy next week to get some people interested in it and things like that. So I'm working with a writer. We're kind of co-producing it, and Yagata has written the film, and she's also we hope act in it as well. So I've got that in the fire. And then hilariously enough, an English guy hit me up who's based in Washington, D.C., of all places, said, Greg, I like Dracula in Space, man. Here's a script I've written that I think we could do the same way. So we're working on that. I can't give away the title just yet, just because it's really, it's a kind of, it's so in the Dracula in Space kind of world, and silly in that way, but we're working on that right now. Essentially, I have approached some producers I've met through Champ Dog, talking about maybe trying to make that happen. So it's been nice. It's been nice. It's been a little bit of a break from Champ Dog recently to kind of catch my breath and try and develop some of my own things. And then I'm doing a little writing as well. I've got 2 ideas that I would love to write and direct at some point.
I think the one part of your career that we haven't really touched on is you also help produce a lot of stuff. Like you have your hand in other pots as well. Are there
Pandora.
Yes. So how do you feel promote some of those products? Because those are probably things that aren't really in line with what you're doing, but you are involved. So
100%.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of it stems from London Film School. I do a podcast called the United Film Podcast, which is meant to be kind of like what you guys are doing a little bit, but it's meant to kind of highlight emerging filmmakers. It really was inspired by meeting so many cool people at school, and then also a bit of a networking tool, but also it's like a nice way for someone who you might not think to speak to otherwise, to invite them on the podcast and just have a cool conversation. And you never know where those things lead. So I really enjoy doing that. I love conversation. If you can't tell already, I love a bit of chit chat. So I do that. And then I produced, I believe, 4 films at London Film School as grad films. So Pandora is another horror film, like a body horror film. Just had its premiere at London Independent Film Festival. I did a film. It was a UK-Mexico co-production called Kintsugi. Simply, it's about 2 brothers who imagine themselves as samurai. So we shot in Rodolfo's hometown of Xochitepec, Mexico, and then shot in the UK in Dartmoor National Park for these cool samurai scenes. So did that, and then I did one in Hong Kong as well, which was really fun, called Tango and Kowloon, with a good friend of mine, Zijian, who I just had dinner with the other night. But he's a big Wong Kar-wai guy, big Hong Kong cinema guy, and just a really good friend. You meet, like when you're making films and with film school and everything like that, like you spend so much time with these people, and when you're writing something, you're kind of bearing your soul. So you end up having really good friendships with these people. So they're all Izzy, who did Pandora, Rodolfo, who did Kintsugi, and Zijian, who did Tango. I have very good relationships with them. And with producing, for me, I think it's such a nice, I wouldn't call it like a reprieve or relief from directing. Producing is very intense as well. But it's a really cool way for me to see what the director's up to, and think and be observing, I guess you could call it, what the director wants, and just trying to achieve it for them. And it's I think I'm a good communicator, and I'm good at like reaching out and trying avenues to facilitate the director's vision. So I'm very interested in doing more producing, but it's just got to be the right project. Like, I think for me now, like I trust myself as a director. I mean, to put it bluntly, like I really feel like I can bring a project home, and I feel like I have a lot to explore still. So I'm most keen to direct, but producing is certainly something that's on the table.
Absolutely.
I'll say one small thing, just poking around your Letterboxd really quick. Yeah. I noticed there's an additional directing credit on a movie that we'll be covering on Versus in a few weeks. So you have an additional directing credit on Sharks versus Mermaids.
I do.
Yes.
I do.
What was that?
Oh my God. Okay. Really good question. So basically, Louisa, with these Champ Dog films, there's so many happening. It's like really hard to keep track. I don't know how she keeps track. So I got a call, and she said, listen, we need to do some pickups. The film, we just need pickups for the film. That was basically, I would call it like, I'm essentially like a director for hire, so I'll get some information, but I won't necessarily get all the information, and that's okay with me. I'm happy to go out there. So actually that's where I met Chris Jolly, the writer for some of these films. It was the first time. So we shot out where he lives. And it was, miserable day, freezing cold. And we shot a couple of pickups of some mermaids and some were sharks killing some mermaids and battling and fighting as you do. Nice. And it was great. It was a great day. It was just like, just another memorable day of some bizarre stuff happening in a Champ Dog film. And I don't think I've ended up seeing that film yet. I'm not totally sure if it's out yet, but I think some of our footage made the trailer. So yeah, I mean, that's another great credit, right? Like I can call myself a second unit director or whatever you want to call it. And met a whole new group of cool people. And it was just one day and I was back in London before you know it. So yeah.
That's great. I guess just a few more quick questions before we wrap up. One, obviously you're in horror now. So like, you've mentioned some movies you watched growing up. What do you point to as like your favorite or your most influential on you when you think about it?
Oh my goodness. Well, Jim Jarmusch I'm a big fan of, but I think that came a little bit later. I mean, I remember watching, these are big movies that I think a lot of people will talk about, but like There Will Be Blood. Like I remember watching that in the cinema in 2000, whenever it came out, 2008, maybe. I might be wrong on that, but I'll never forget that. I'll never forget like, oh my God, like this is just, and I didn't really know much about Deakins at the time. It was right before I really, really got into things. And but like, there's so many movies like that. Even like, I remember watching Star Wars, the newer ones where Darth Maul's fighting the two Qui-Gon Jinn. And like, I remember like, on the edge of my seat, man, like couldn't move, biting my nails. I remember watching The Matrix in the cinema and shitting myself, man. Amazing movie. So I think Indiana Jones, I wasn't in the cinema for that, but like all these movies, like I think I just like, I'm locked in. I don't know what it is. I think it's just, it excites me. It's there's the adventure and the storytelling. So I don't know. I think I'm an American. Like I love America, and it's what made me who I am, in every way. I think coming to London has allowed me to, I've always been fascinated by like the European perspective and the English perspective. Maybe you can say in cinema, like the art house look and the emotional kind of drive of the films that are made here, maybe you could say more. Whereas in Hollywood, you have this, like epic kind of Hollywood presence and this like, oh my God, it's so amazing and epic and the stories are so whatever they might be. You look at Spielberg, you look at all these amazing directors. So I see that in myself, right? I see me making kind of big stories, but I want an emotional core that's like really identifiable and like lush is maybe the word for it. So I think genre is fun, but I think what excites me is bending genre. So again, if you look at Different Faces, that's very much like, almost like, I wouldn't call it a kitchen sink drama though. It's like, it's kind of like a slice of life, like observational, almost docu-esque thing. And I think actually that's probably what I really love about doing these Champ Dog films as well. Part of it almost feels like a documentary to me, because I'll get a script like Zoo Escape, right? Which is about animals killing humans and pheromones and like a baby monkey and all these crazy things. And I'll get all these actors who I may or may not have worked with before. And I work with them a couple of times in rehearsals on Zoom. And then I meet them all there for a week and we make something happen. And I think for me, it's like talking to the DP, talking to the production designer, and coming up with a plan. And then who knows what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And you try to make it as interesting. You try to make it visually appealing and in ways that you haven't seen before. And you go with some of the tropes of genres that you're familiar with, and you make magic happen. That's it. That's the fun of it.
I say we'll just turn it over to the part now. I know you have a lot of projects that are like in various stages of post-production. Yeah. Obviously, you said a lot of projects happen quickly. Is there anything that you want to talk about, can talk about, what should be looking for from you over the next few months or year?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm really, now that I've done these 8 features since last March, I guess you'd call it March 2025, I'm wanting to screen them. So I'm trying in some capacities to get them into festivals. I'm doing some private screenings and things like that. I'd say, you know, be on the lookout for the ones that haven't hit the streaming services yet. Say so, like the Bigfoot Experiment, and then this year we've done Ice Twister, Sinkhole, and Zoo Escape. And I mean, we just finished the sound mix for Zoo Escape, and it is insane. And honestly, I think it's my best work. Like, I really believe that. Like, and really, the funny thing about it is that it's similar time period that we're working, but I think we're having more fun and we're getting more comfortable as like a group. And I think that's what I really like. You talk about like a troupe maybe or something like that. You know, say Jacob, who is one of the stars of Zoo Escape. I've worked with him on 3 films now, you know, and we're planning the screening that we're going to be doing for Bigfoot Experiment in a couple weeks. So check out those. And yeah, I mean, you can just follow me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on, you know, I've got my website up. Maybe if you guys would be cool to link, and just follow me along because there's a lot more happening.
Absolutely.
Everything will be put in the description of this video. Where you can find Greg online and follow his work and everything he's done. I believe his whole resume is on his website. You can check everything out. But Greg, we appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us today. Your time is very valuable. We appreciate having you here. I'm gonna just drop you backstage real quick, and we'll put a bow on this for everybody. Well, that'll do it. Another episode of the Why We Love Horror / versus interview series. If you made this far in the video, like, comment, subscribe, share. Go to the Facebook group at Why We Love Horror. Check out our Letterboxd challenge over here. You can watch movies with us all year. Until next time, I'm John Maher, and that's Will Cohen for Greg Randolph Jr., who is happy enough to be here with us today. We appreciate his time, and we'll see you next time we do an interview here on the interview series.